Magothy River Middle School's telecommunication transmission facility, and this is also a review item. Do we have a presentation on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon. For the record, Alex Shaknovich here, present item 5.02, which is a review item concerning the Magothy River, Severn River Middle School telecommunication transmission facility. Let me allow my two counterparts to introduce themselves for the record as well.
Greg Stewart, Senior Manager, Engineering.
Kristen Stelzer, Milestone Communications.
And simply by way of background, this came before the board on May the 7th of 2014. In accordance with its regulations, we scheduled a public hearing that took place on the 28th of May out in the community. The reason I asked for your indulgence for a moment is the board frequently asks to what extent are efforts made to communicate such transactions to the public. So, for the benefit of the public and the board members, it is contained in your packets, but I simply wanted to read the following. The county government's planning and zoning office required that approximately 88 individuals, homeowners, community center, community activity groups were notified, 88. In addition to the 88, 444 additional notices were sent out by Milestone. In addition to that, the school district sent out 1,490 student flyers, issued in excess of 4,500 calls, emails, and e-flyers to the entire Broadneck cluster, posted it on Facebook, which has a following of over 30,000, posted it on Twitter, which has a following of approximately 12,000, posted it on our website that essentially has an infinite viewability, issued newsletters, notifications, etc. to elected officials to the count of 722 official notifications. And this story was covered by the local media and articles in the Capitol. The reason I took that moment is because the board has encouraged us to go to great lengths to publicize our efforts with respect to ensuring that the surrounding community and the community at large is aware of such proposals. I believe that staff and Milestone more than ably discharged the requirements with this. With that, we're available to answer any questions you might have.
Mrs. Ritchie?
Thank you for that, because we did receive something that says you didn't do anything and nobody knew anything and stuff like that. And we had received the minutes, and the last time you were here with minutes from another meeting, we asked for a little bit more specificity in them, and thank you, you did, because according to the minutes that were here, about 50 plus, and I understand when you say 50 plus, you can't say there were 57 people in the room, because sometimes people leave and sometimes people come in and so like that. And do you require a sign-in sheet, or was it sort of like a head count?
There is, this is Kristen Stelzer with Milestone. There is a sign-in sheet, but we do not require people to sign in, so
Right.
not everybody does sign in.
Yeah, so so you have the sign-in sheet, and is that what you used to generate the numbers, or did somebody kind of in the audience also take like a quick head count?
It was a general head count, but
Okay.
people were moving around and coming in.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I understand that, so it's not like you can, which is good, because then we get in something else that said 70% of the people that were there. Well, if I didn't know there were only 50 people there, then I would have thought 70%, wow, that's a lot of people, because I didn't know what the number is. But, 70% of 20 people and 70% of 200 people, totally different. I don't know what 70% of those numbers are, but anyway. And then the other issue of the, I had it pulled up here, so let me pull it up again. The community members not knowing about that. I mean, you mailed them out. Let me ask you what your postcard looks like. Do we know what the postcard looks like?
This was a copy of one that was returned. So it has
Okay.
a map, and then
So it's sort of just like a white little postcard, but but nowadays you don't get a whole lot of, I don't know, I don't get a whole lot of mail, and it's usually, okay, I won't say the word junk mail, but
Ms.
it's
Ritchie,
usually not,
for your benefit and not interrupt you, but one of the main purposes is also that a very robust website, and I'm not sure to what extent the board members have taken the opportunity on these various projects, but the websites contain a plethora of information, and one of the main purposes of the postcard is the recognition that you can only get so much on,
Right.
be it one letter, one postcard, etc. It's really to direct individuals to that website that stood up on a project-specific basis that has a vast amount of information that is both site-specific and a tremendous amount of material that's background information for like health concerns, et cetera. So that is really the preferred venue, again, recognizing the limited real estate you have on any single piece of paper.
Right, and there's a link from our website to that.
Yes, ma'am.
So anybody goes on our website, you know, I'm not sure. I get phone calls sometimes. I'm not even sure how people found my phone number. I mean, it's not like it's buried anywhere, but you got to go through a whole lot of stuff to get to my board phone number on there. So I mean, they've passed all this other stuff before they even get there. And quite frankly, and I know we've talked this ad nauseum. I had somebody call. Really, this is a federal regulation. It's not like we're out making tons of money. We're not going out there trying to. There's a federal regulation, and that really what people need to do is start looking at the federal law. If they want to get it changed, they have to go federally and get this changed. I mean, because we're obligated to do this. Would that be fair to say?
The Reauthorization Act of the Federal Telecommunication Commission requires public entities, public landholders, and essentially encourages, again, because having a robust and vibrant communication system is so critical to this nation, both in terms of emergency communications and in order for us to transact commerce, business here in the country, and that is obviously on top of just personal communications, which are not as much a federal concern, but transaction of commerce and emergency preparedness and communication is. And because it is a matter of national concern, the Federal Communication Commission encourages that all public landholders, stakeholders participate in this national effort to have our communication system become much more robust, much more reliable, and again, as we continue to transition away from landlines to electronic formats, just last night on the national news, it used to be 3 out of 10, but now 4 out of 10 households, again, according to the national news last night, no longer even have a landline. And so this trend is likely going to continue. So even in the realm of personal communications, which is sort of this third leg of concern, our reliance on wireless technology is going to continue to become increasingly more important.
Yeah, my daughter has no phone in her home. You know, she has her cell phone, and that's how you communicate. She has no telephone. And the issue is, I mean, even the county council, they wanted to go and you can't. This is a federally mandated law, and really, what we need to do is look at the federal law and start contacting those people. If you're really opposed, I mean, I understand people are very opposed to this for many different reasons. So really, it comes down to, we can spin our wheels here and yell at us all you want, but we can't not do anything. We have to do this because we're required to. And so it's not because, you know, I see these things where they, you know, whether if they want to make money, they got to find other ways to do it. I think it's like $12,000. I mean, it's not like, this is not going to be the end all be all for us to run the school system if these towers don't go up. But, you know, and then there was some kind of thing about tax ID numbers or something about did you all see that about the tax? I don't even know what that was about. You're not paying taxes on the money from Milestone, or
Well,
I don't know. Well, we pay taxes, but I mean, what I'm
Right.
saying is that
Yeah,
Milestone.
we comply with all the
The
IRS
thing was,
requirements.
there was something on there from them about that there was no tax ID number, and you don't pay any taxes for it or something. I don't know. Maybe Ms. Virgin knows
I'm
better.
not
but
familiar, but if you can forward that to me,
yeah,
I'd be
we
more
will,
than happy
yeah.
to look into it.
Mrs. Birch?
Does Now, is the owner of the tower Milestone or Verizon?
Milestone.
Okay. Now, does Milestone have to pay personal property taxes on any equipment that it owns?
I know that, I spoke with our accountant. I know that we pay multiple levels of taxes, but offhand, I would have to get back to you with what we are actually paying.
I mean, it makes sense that they don't pay real property tax because they don't own the property. The property owner pays real property tax if it's a taxable property. I would think that any time they leased a property from someone else, they would never be liable for the real property tax unless that was included in the lease agreement.
Right. When the master lease agreement was originally vetted in 2012, and Mr. Bennett was involved as well, and Mr. Margulies at that time serving as chief of staff to the board, we vetted the entire taxing structure. That was actually a big part of our initial research because that was a concern clearly that we have as a landowner to begin with. And we wanted to make sure that whatever structure was put in place did not jeopardize our standing with the Internal Revenue Service. So a large focus of that additional initial year-long effort to vet this entire process actually had to do with the taxing implications.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Ritchie?
Yeah, and this comes from some Parents Coalition of Montgomery County. They sent us this. See, and they're saying that you don't have any, there's no tax account number for the cell tower on Broadneck High School. I'm not sure what that means, and another cell tower is hiding in plain sight and avoiding paying Maryland property taxes, but you don't own the property. You own the structure, but you don't own the property that it sits on. Right, okay, I'm just, when I read these, I don't know taxing, so I'm just.
Yeah, the property is not subdivided. We basically just take out a lease for a certain area, like 2,500 square feet.
And it's a short-term lease, so it's not a long-term. It's not like an abandonment or a conveyance. Like you could potentially fall into a jeopardy with like a 100-year lease. So it's a very short-term leasing engagement. So
I mean, and you're not tax authority, so but if I rent a property, the owner of the property is responsible for the taxes, but me as the renter, I don't then pay taxes on top of the taxes they paid. Now, it may be incorporated in however much I have to pay for that rent, but if I rent a house from somebody, they're responsible for paying the property taxes. I'm just renting the house. Is that right? I mean, I don't,
that's the typical convention.
That's Debbie's
Yes.
simplistic version.
Just to clarify, looking at the minutes, so you have about 4,000+ Broadneck Peninsula folks were notified, and you only had 50 people show up at the meeting, and some of them actually spoke for or in favor of the cell tower. Some were quiet, and some were opposed out of the 50, correct?
Correct.
And then the next step after this is on August 15th, you'll apply for a building permit with the county?
On or about.
Okay.
We have another notification process that we're required to do, and we have some work that we have to do internally to prepare the building permit. But generally, that's around our target application date.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? You can give it to Michelle.
My name's Colin Murphy. I came up a month ago and did during the public comment when this wasn't actually on the agenda. I do actually have a copy of the petition against the towers, if you guys would like it, and I believe I emailed everybody last night in regards to that. In terms of that meeting, there was approximately about 50 people there. Now, the last comment I heard was that some spoke for it. I think there might have been one person that spoke for it. It was overwhelmingly against. Everyone that was there was all outspoken against having the tower put up. A lot of our concerns surround security as well. I'm sure there's some kind of background process and checking, but with any towers that are going up, they're going to have maintenance access, as I mentioned before. So we're going to have access to the school grounds.
Is there any public comment on this item? You can give it to Michelle.
My name's Colin Murphy. I came up a month ago and did during the public comment when this wasn't actually on the agenda. I do actually have a copy of the petition against the towers, if you guys would like it, and I believe I emailed everybody last night in regards to that. In terms of that meeting, there was approximately about 50 people there. Now, the last comment I heard was that some spoke for it. I think there might have been one person that spoke for it. It was overwhelmingly against. Everyone that was there was all outspoken against having the tower put up. A lot of our concerns surround security as well. I'm sure there's some kind of background process and checking, but with any towers that are going up, they're going to have maintenance access, as I mentioned before. So we're going to have access to the school grounds, to people that will not be checking in at the front desk or getting escorts through the properties, being out there. There was also just a general safety concern. They mentioned that they're going to do everything that they can to avoid, keep children, adults out of the compound. They're going to find ways in. There was someone in Illinois, an 18-year-old in Illinois, just recently rescued from the top of a cell phone tower that I'm sure had all kinds of safety measures to keep people out. It's definitely something that being right on the school grounds for middle school kids with the peer pressure, there's going to be challenges of the local community to who can get in there and things like that. It's bound to happen, and so there is going to be the danger to that. Also, with any vehicles coming through, I saw the plans. It drives all the way along the school building for the access road. So it's going to be driving along all the school fields for any maintenance vehicles that are going to be coming in. So again, we're looking at the safety of the children and having the access come through. Now, in terms of also revenue generation, as you mentioned, it's only $12,000 a year, which is very little. When I was at the meeting last month, there was the volunteer, I can't remember if it was of the month or of the year, from Broadneck Elementary, who raised $12,000 in box tops. So there's, it's not a significant source of revenue to outweigh a lot of the risks, as well as, and I believe the board is separate from the county, but there's New York Times articles everywhere. There's when you put cell phone towers up, it reduces property value anywhere from 4 to 20%. So you'll be reducing the tax base that the county will be getting because of all the surrounding homes. You'll be reducing that tax revenue significantly by having that. And of course, we are right on the peninsula, and then of course you've got all of the environmental aspects. It'll be, I forget, I'm sure you have the exact footage away from the rivers right there. And so having all of the diesel fuel, all of the trucks coming in with their fuel to refill the generators that have to be there, so close to the watershed, and we just had that huge sewage spill right over there in that area. I'm not sure if you guys had heard about that, but being so close to that, puts a very big risk for the environment in the area. And Montgomery County has actually deemed that all cell phone towers be listed as hazmat sites because of the various fuels and liquids and things that are on them. So we're essentially putting a hazmat site on school grounds right next to the Severn and Magothy rivers and the various creeks and into the watershed, which obviously all fills into the Chesapeake, which is a huge concern right now. And so it's just a matter that In terms of those postcards, you know, we did get one. My wife and I didn't even notice it for about 2 weeks because it looked like all the Verizon Fios junk mail we get. We saw the Verizon name. So I question how many people really read through that. And because of how small it was, you know, it was very small, just had the Verizon name. It did not really say there's a proposed cell phone tower, very fine print. And so, and when you just see the Verizon name, I think, okay, it's another Fios offer. I even just recently switched to Fios, and I'm still getting the Fios marketing offers. So pretty much anything from Verizon has been thrown off to the side. So I would imagine that a significant portion of the people who did receive that probably had that same type of reaction to it. And even when I started going around my community asking about it, the overwhelming majority was they didn't even hear about it and they didn't know about the meeting. But I see my time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additional comments? Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is 5.03 construction status report. This is a review item. Do we have a presentation?